Hi, ladies. Welcome to our 4-week group coaching session. And I'm excited to kick off this first week with the topic identifying your tech career business development gaps as a woman in technology, of course. So, this session is designed to help you identify and address the gaps that you have in your career or business as regards to leveraging technology. Now, it is worthy to note that despite the progress that we see, despite, all of the programs that we see about women in tech and all of that, there's still a lot of challenges we face as women in the industry. So with these sessions, we would look at strategies to recognize those challenges, to work around those challenges, and of course, start to record tangible results. So at the end of our session, you should be able to understand the unique challenges you face as a woman in tech. You need you should also be able to identify your personal career or business development gaps. Like, what are the gaps? What are the areas that I'm lagging behind? Then you should also be able to come up with strategies to bridge those gaps and achieve your career or business goals. Okay, so welcome once again. My name is Theodora Isola, aka Agile Tech Coach. Yeah, aka Coach T. So it's my pleasure to do this. I'm always excited to, you know, work with amazing women just like you to, just upskill, to reskill, to ensure that you're doing your best at every point in time. So why is it important for you to identify the gaps? Why is it important for you to identify the gaps? It's very easy and simple to just move along, to follow the trend, to just live every day. I mean, you wake up in the morning, you get busy. You know how, morning come, night come, you go to bed, and then it's the next day, right? So if you read the Bible, I think you can relate to it. You know how in Genesis says night came, morning came, it was the next day. So it's so easy to fall into that trap of, just doing the same thing over and over again. So it's important that you address the gaps that you have. The gaps that you have. Um, so how do you even get to do this? How do you get to do this? So quickly, um, I'm going to share, um, you know, say a technology career planning, career or business planning. I'm going to share. So while I do this, please take note of where you have a gap. Now, this planning, career or business planning I'm going to talk about is, say it's ideal. It may not be the perfect plan. It may not be the perfect, but it's something to borrow from. Okay. So why I go through, what you need to do is to identify, the gaps that you have. Identify the gaps that you have. So I'll go through quickly. So the first thing is, in your career and business, identify the the goals that you have. So what are my goals? What are my goals? Okay, what are my goals? So for my career, um, it could be I want to be able to say land a job, right? And in this specific role, it could be I want to gain the expertise so that I can do ABC. Then if it's your business, um, you want to maybe use online platform to get, you know, or to have, maybe 10 clients in the new month or in the coming months. So remember, you are trying to identify the goals that you have that you want to achieve, either in your career or your business. All right. Now, if you have not sat down to identify your goal, now that is a gap. That is a gap. So remember, our topic says identifying your career business development gaps. So if you have not sat down to say, so this is the goal I want to achieve, then obviously that is a gap. So note it down, right? So the first thing that I said, identify my goals in my career or in my business, or in my career and business. Have I done this? Have I done this? Now we just entered a new quarter, okay, Q2 in the year 2024. And then a lot of times you are okay to set short-term goals, which could be 3 months. So in this 3 months that we have just started, have I identified the goal that I want to achieve in my career and my business? It could also be long-term goals, right? So you have short-term goals maybe for the next 3 months, or short-term goals for the next 6 months, or you could have long-term goal for the next 1 year. Have I identified my goal? So if you have not, see it that, oh, I have just identified a gap. I've just identified a gap. So note that down. And remember, when you're setting your goals need to be smart, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. It has to be specific. Specific. What exactly do I want to be able to do? Immeasurable. How will I know that this thing I want to be able to do, I have done? What will I use to measure it? Then is it attainable? Is it something that is within my reach? Then relevant. Is it actually relevant to your growth in your career or your business? And then time bound. You cannot just say, I want to be good at my job. That's not a goal. That's a wish. So if you have not sat down to look at the next 3 months or the next 6 months, let's not even push it, for just the next 3 months, and it could be just one, it could be one, right? It could be two. If you have not sat down, please note that you have just identified a gap. And within the next few, within our next sessions, or in your own time, you can start working on that, okay? And of course, you can relate with me for us to maybe have a one-on-one session, and then you can work on that. So the next thing we're looking at is the skills that I require. Have I identified the skills that I require? So now that you've identified, or when you take the time to identify your goals, the next thing is, do I have the skill required? So your goal can be, oh, I want to land a data analytics job in this quarter, right? In the next 3 months. The next thing is, have I identified the required skill that will ensure that I achieve this my goal? Okay, so if you have not, that is a gap. If you have identified, you know, I mean, it could not even, I'm sure right now, as you're listening to me, you can tell, oh, so this is something that I really would like to achieve, right? Please just note that down. Then the next thing is, you know, do I have the skill? Have I identified the skill required for me to do ABC, right? For me to achieve my goal. So that is the next thing. If you have, then that is not a gap. But if you haven't, then that is a gap. Now, remember we're talking about identifying your tech career and or business development gaps. Okay? What is that thing that could prevent me from, you know, developing, from moving to the stage that I want to move in? That's what we're looking at. All right, so let's go on. So the third thing you need to look at is, have I created a career path, a career or business path, more like a roadmap? Have I created a career or business roadmap? So let me give you a typical example. Now, in looking at, say, the job role that you want to take, in looking at the job, yeah, I mean, if you work in, say, I know that in, say, hospitality, they usually start with, I think it's, ah, maybe something, storeroom. If you're starting from ground zero, storeroom, and then you start to do, front decks, and then you move to maybe supervisor before you move, so there's a career path for every industry. For every industry, have you identified your career path? Your career path. So when I look at, I'm a product manager, and interestingly, oh, okay, so I'll save that for another time. Now, when I look at my career path, I see that, okay, you can start as a product manager intern, then you become an associate product manager, then you become a product manager. Then the next part is to become, say, a mid-level product manager, and then a senior product manager. Now, that is a career path. But for you, you can decide that, hey, I want to start right at just PM, and then in the next 3 years, I move to a senior PM. Your own, right? Yes, there is the ideal one. By knowing what is ideal, you can now say, hey, I think I should be able to jump like this, or I should, let me just stick with, what is attainable. All right. Now, you also have options. I, I've actually thought of the option of, from senior product manager, take on a chief, operations officer, right? Or of course, there is the chief product officer. There's a CPO. So there are different levels. It's for you to identify, what is my career roadmap, like, where am I going, right? So the first thing is, what is my goal? You can start with just, a 3 month goal, or a 6 month goal, or even push to 1 year, 2, 3 years, 5 years. Nobody can limit your goals, right? It is your goal, and it's up to you to, um make it smart, right? Make it smart. And sometimes I think it takes practice. It takes pride. So if you've not actually sat down to write your goals in time past, it may be very difficult for you, but you don't give up. You take the time and then you keep working at it. Okay, so we've talked about identifying your goals, then identifying the required skill to reach your goal, and then a career or business roadmap. A career or business roadmap. Hey, how do I want to go? What is attainable? I mean, what should I stick with? Okay. So the next thing when you have your career roadmap, it's actually to move towards it. Like, what is the next step? Oh, based on what I have mapped out, what is the next step that I need to be doing? Okay, so it's really not it's one thing to note down what you want to do, another thing to take the step. So if you have identified that, oh, I mean, I want to start out, or the career roadmap for me is that, first, as say, um a business analyst, I want to, you know or maybe a customer service person, I want to, look at project management or business analyst. So you identifying that is, hey, now what is the next step to take? What is the next step to take? All right, so you need to actually take that step. Do I need to review my CV? Do I need to, start applying for a job? You just need to know the next step to take. Then, of course, um so I mean, the next step will be, oh, like I said, do I need to review my CV? All right, do I need to, maybe take a course, get coaching, right? Just that will make you fit for the next thing, or for that step that you've identified in your roadmap. And of course, if it's a job, you go ahead to apply for the job. If it's for your business, right, you go ahead to say, hey, I want to reach, maybe, I mean, I've only been doing 1, 2 every month, but in this quarter, I want to reach at least 25 business individuals to buy from me, to patronize my business. You don't have that goal, and then you go and sit down, right? You take the next step towards achieving your goal. And of course, most importantly, is to project yourself, project what you're doing. I know that a lot of times, I think I'm even guilty of it. We wait for that perfect time to project ourselves, to, talk about. But in doing that, we network. Okay, it's difficult. Trust me. I think it's as I'm growing older, that I kind of realize that maybe I'm an introvert. I always thought I was an extrovert. I mean, I always thought, like, oh, I like people around and all of that. But these days, going out, just interacting, meeting people is a lot of work. But it is very important, right? It's important that you network, you connect with people who are, going to where you are going to, right? Who have been to where you want to go to, is important. So it's important that you identify these people. They could be role models, because when it comes to role models, it means that you may not have that one-on-one interaction with them, but you can follow them up. It's more like you are researching them to get ideas, right? So I'll just list one or two of my role models. Yeah, one, interestingly, I met one of my role models, interestingly, but one of my role model is Katie Sierra, right? She's a game developer. I mean, she's not young. She's in her 60s right now. Then, of course, Oprah Winfrey. That's another of my role model. And then bring it home to Nigeria. Bring it home. Oh, I love Madam Ibuku Awoshika, right? She's one of my role models. And then, of course, I'm not going to leave men out of this. Tony Elumelu. And interestingly, I've met him. right? I mean, I've been one of his mentees, but of course, since it's not an ongoing, relationship, I see him, even as my role model. Okay, so those people. Oh, what am I even saying? Ibuku Awoshika. I think it was last year or last 2 years. She had this event where she put together in Lagos, and I actually paid to attend the event. So these things, I mean, I've seen her, right? So when you identify these people, you start to look for opportunity to connect with them, to network with them, to listen to them, to take ideas from them and keep building yourself. And of course, last but not the least, how do you measure your progress, right? Identify how you will measure your progress. How will you measure your progress? Okay, so you've decided that, okay, I've created a goal. um I've created a goal. Yeah, I've identified the skill that I require. I've created a roadmap, right? Yes, I know exactly the next thing I want to do. Okay, I know exactly the next thing I want to do. Then I've listed the people who I want to follow, who I want to network with. And of course, LinkedIn is always a great place to network. And then this is how I will measure my progress. This is how I will measure my progress. So with all this, you don't just let life happen to you. You're intentional about, you know, advancing your career or your business. When identifying this gap is the first thing. Okay, identifying this gap. So if you've not done any of that, it just shows that, hey, I mean, I have some work to do, which is not so difficult. And with that, I can, start to, you know, improve myself. All right. So, one of the another option to use to identify gaps is to carry out a self-assessment. Carry out a self-assessment, and there are tools that can help you. We have um, the personality test. I think 61 or something. Personality test. We have that. You can just take go through it. And of course, when you're responding to the question, be as honest as it is you. It is you. It's not anybody else. Don't try to, make it fancy, or don't try to project that, hi, I want the result to be like this. All right. Don't try to do that. Try to be as, I'll get a URL and share in the chats so that you can take a personality test and hear what it says about you. So the beautiful thing about taking personality test is this. If you don't like the results, that's fine. It means you have the opportunity um to improve on yourself, right? To improve on yourself. So you take the personality test to check, oh, this is what it currently is. This is my personality. Oh, this is why I do some of the things I do. And then you can start to, reflect, take your time to do a self evaluation, reflect on the information that it has given you, and you can start to adjust, right? Always take the time to write down, um, take notes, look at the areas that you need to improve, and you keep building on yourself. All right. Okay. So, so in the next week, we would be, you know, actually setting smart goals, setting these smart goals. So I would advise that you come with maybe one goal that you want to, talk about. Make it loud, right? I mean, find one. This is a goal I would like to achieve. And trust me, we would practically look at how you can achieve that goal, how you can work towards that goal. I would advise that you keep the goal within 1 to 3 months, something you can achieve between 1 to 3 months, okay, so that we can measure it quickly and see how. So once you get it right the first time, okay, or once you get it right one time, it's easier to get it right another time. Okay, so thank you. I think we would now move on to our personal or individual discussions and take it from there.